Electric chair. Electric chair? A device designed to carry out the death penalty by means of a high-voltage alternating electric current passed through the body of the death row inmate. It was invented in 1881 by American engineer Alfred Southwick. The electric chair is a chair made of dielectric material with armrests and a high backrest, equipped with straps for rigid fixation of the condemned person. Arms are fixed on the armrests, legs in special clamps of the chair legs. A special helmet is also attached to the chair. Electrical contacts are connected to the ankle clamps and to the helmet. The technical support includes a step-up transformer. During execution, an alternating current of about 2700 volts is applied to the contacts, and a current limiting system maintains a current through the convict's body of about 5 amperes. The current and voltage are limited so that the condemned person does not catch fire during the execution. The principle of electrocution involves electrocution of the brain to cause death as quickly as possible, so the main electrical contact is located in the helmet. The human skull has a high resistance, protecting the brain from the effects of electricity, so the hair on the top of the head must be shaved and a sponge soaked in saline solution before execution. Only high-voltage current passes through the skull, which is why high-voltage current is used in executions. Nitrogen asphyxia, a type of asphyxia by inert gas, in which case the state of suffocation occurs as a result of inhalation of nitrogen in the absence of oxygen or at low concentrations, resulting in hypoxia, which is expressed in the insufficiency of tissues and organs of the living organism in oxygen to maintain their normal level of vital activity. It is achieved by increasing the concentration of nitrogen or its partial pressure in the inhaled air. It can lead to nitrogen poisoning, including fatalities. Nitrogen asphyxiation is a method of capital punishment, better known as nitrogen asphyxiation, that is authorized for use in 3 U.S. states, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Mississippi, and was first executed on January 25, 2024 in Alabama. The effects of nitrogen hypoxia are serious and can quickly lead to death. Without enough oxygen, the brain cannot function properly, leading to unconsciousness and possible death. Firing squad. The taking of life by a gunshot. Death may be caused by gunshot head injury, loss of blood, rupture of the heart or major vessels, rupture of the lungs. In the case of a shooting by a firing squad, the person condemned to death is usually placed against a wall, tied to a post or tied to a chair. He is often given the choice of being blindfolded. Official shootings are carried out by a few riflemen who usually do not perform this procedure voluntarily, but only out of the inevitability of obeying an order. In addition, they sometimes mix live ammunition with blanks to ease their conscience. If the condemned person is still alive after the firing of the volley, the chief of the firing squad shoots him in the head with a pistol shot. Hanging. Hanging, a method of capital punishment consisting of strangulation by a noose under the weight of the body. In the Middle Ages and modern times, hanging was used as one of the many methods of execution, convenient because it did not require special equipment. At the same time, it was mainly considered as a shameful kind of death, in contrast to the noble beheading or firing squad. In some countries, hanging was applied exclusively to commoners, and in relation to persons of noble class could be used for special humiliation of the executed person and his family. Nowadays, the death penalty by hanging has been actively used in Iran since 1979, after the Islamic Revolution. It is the main method of capital punishment in this country. As a rule, the condemned person is hanged in public on a crane. His eyes are sometimes blindfolded, or a sack is placed over his head, and his hands are tied backwards. In addition, his feet may be tied at the ankles. Stoning. Stoning, a form of capital punishment known since antiquity in many countries of the world. It is a method of capital punishment in which a group of people throw stones at a person until he or she dies from multiple blunt traumas. The use of this form of punishment for grave misdemeanors has been attested since ancient times. Execution was carried out after a decision of an authorized legal body, the king or the court. The execution procedure was carried out as follows. A large hole was dug in the ground so that a person could sit or even stand in it. and then the victim was firmly tied to a pole, depriving him of the ability to move and stoned to death. Or, sometimes, the unkilled was buried alive under a pile of stones. Lethal injection. Lethal injection capital punishment, which is the administration of a solution of poisons or potent substances into the body of the executed person. At the same time, an anesthetic may also be administered to limit physical suffering. It is similar in essence to euthanasia. Lethal injection is used as a method of capital punishment in a number of states in the United States, as well as in the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and China. The execution procedure differs from multi-component general anesthesia only in the doses and rate of drug administration. The drugs themselves are widely known and safe for use in clinical practice. Death occurs between 5 and 18 minutes after the start of the execution. The immediate cause of death is hypoxia because after administration of a myorelaxant, the skeletal muscles become paralyzed and the person is unable to breathe on his or her own. Most states prefer to administer the solutions manually, believing it to be more reliable. Decapitation. The physical separation of the head of a living being from the body. It is carried out with the help of a special tool, guillotine, or cutting instruments, axe, sword, knife. Beheading has served as a form of capital punishment for thousands of years and is the most famous type of execution. In medieval Europe, state and criminal offenders were beheaded and put on public display. Execution by beheading with a sword or axe, any martial weapon, was considered noble and was applied mainly to aristocrats who, as warriors, were considered prepared to die by the sword. If the sword or axe was sharp and the executioner skillful, the result of the execution was a quick and relatively painless death. If the weapon was poorly sharpened or the executioner unskillful, it could take several blows to behead a man. For the same reason, the condemned person was blindfolded to prevent him from twitching at the decisive moment. The condemned were also advised to pay the executioner to do his job properly. Decapitation by guillotine was a common mechanized form of execution. The purpose of the invention was to create a painless and quick method of execution. After the head was severed, the executioner would lift it up and show it to the crowd. It was widely believed that the severed head could see for about 10 seconds. Drowning. Drowning, as a method of execution, has been noted since the dawn of history in a wide variety of cultures and has been used for a variety of crimes. Various cultures have noted prohibitions against the shedding of royal blood, and when it is necessary to execute members of the royal family, they have been subjected to drowning to avoid the shedding of their blood. When a person of royal blood is sentenced to death, it is carried out mainly through drowning. First, the condemned person's hands and feet are bound, then they are sewn into a red sack, which is sometimes placed in a barrel, and the condemned person is lowered into the water, sinking under their own weight. This practice is resorted to because it is considered a sin to shed royal blood. Crucifixion. The most widespread form of capital punishment in ancient Rome, where it became the main type of cruel, shameful, and painful death penalty. It was used to execute especially dangerous criminals, rebels, traitors, prisoners of war, robbers, runaway slaves. Upon arrival at the place, the condemned person was stripped of his clothes, laid on the ground, his arms were stretched wide and nailed to the ends of a crossbar, which was then pulled to the top of a pole dug into the ground with the help of ropes. Lion eating. Lion eating, a form of capital punishment in ancient Rome by throwing the condemned person to be torn to pieces by animals in a circus arena. In ancient Rome, execution by tearing by wild animals, primarily lions but also bears, panthers, leopards, and wild bulls, was part of the program of circus performances along with gladiatorial fights. The custom of giving criminals to be tortured by animals was brought to ancient Rome by two generals, Lucius Aemilius, Paul of Macedon. Both of them introduced a new method of terrorizing the people of Rome, publicly throwing defectors and deserters to wild animals. The Romans regarded it as extremely useful, and it soon became a norm of Roman criminal law. Thanks for watching. Suggest your ideas for the next video in the comments.